Hello everybody, this is Hornlets here, and welcome back for more Let's Glitch The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. In the last episode, we finished off the Forest Temple, and in this episode, we are going to be going to Elden Twilight and clearing that. But first, you might be wondering what on earth I'm doing here, because I already cleared Faron Twilight, so how am I back in it? What am I doing here? So I just used a separate file that was just in Faron Twilight, because there's a glitch that I want to show off that is easier to show off, or rather, like, actually you can tell what's going on in the Twilight. So basically, this is called Faron Escape. So right in front of me, there's a Midna text trigger that sends me back if I haven't beaten the Twilight, and then after I beat the Twilight, there's another text trigger that sends me back if I haven't beaten the Forest Temple. And just to prove it, to show right here, wait, don't go too far, yeah. So that trigger right there, there is a way to get past it. We're going to be using a boomerang long jump attack to get past it, but it is a bit of a precise trick. It's actually pretty precise, but fortunately with the right setups, it's actually not terrible. So basically, I want to go over two setups. The very first one, if you kind of just hug this wall a little bit and walk forward, eventually you'll hit the trigger. And then if you get through the text, this basically puts you in the same spot every time with the same camera angle. I think there's a tiny bit of variance, but not enough for it to actually matter. And then what you want to do is kind of back up and angle yourself at a very... it's actually not that precise. But basically, if you see, I'll highlight it right here. At the bottom of the screen there's that black dot right there. I line up the bottom of Link's paw with the top of that. I kind of go right about here, honestly, should be fine. And then I transform, and that actually moves Link back a tiny bit. And at that point, at this point, I'm like right next to the trigger. If I try moving to the left, or to the right, or forward, like at all, I will hit the trigger. And then if I pull out the boomerang and do a few targets here at the very back, this is actually targeting the floor behind the trigger, which is elevated higher up than Link's feet. And then I throw it and then do a jump attack. I should land past the trigger just like that. And just to prove that I did, I can walk right into the trigger. And you'll notice how kind of close I was to it. You don't really have much room to spare here. So it's kind of... It's hard to do without a setup. Like, you can do it without a setup. There are some visual cues you can use. Like, I think this might actually work right here. It might not, but okay, yeah. So I was a little bit off, as you can see. Like, I was very close to getting it there, but yeah, it's hard to do it without a setup. But there is one other setup that I want to go over. If you see this little like wooden plank right here, or whatever you want to call it, wooden post, I guess. If you sort of like walk against it, so you'll notice how Link kind of stays in place when he's moving. If you get into that position, then turn around and pull out the boomerang, and then line up the boomerang, the dot at the center of the site there, if you line that up with the very top of, there's this little white splotch that I'll highlight on that little like wooden bit there that you can see. If you line up just the dot in the middle with the top of that, so right about here, it's not actually super precise. You have like a few pixels to either side of it to work with. And then you do a roll, side hop, and then another roll. You should be in basically the right position, and then you can just do the exact same thing that we did last time and get over the trigger. And just to show how close I was to the trigger, just doing that is enough to hit the trigger, so it's really precise. But fortunately, again, with those setups, it makes it pretty easy. And of course, because it requires a long jump attack, you can't actually do that on the Wii version, which is a little unfortunate. Oops, I need to switch memory cards. But yeah, it's a little unfortunate you can't do it on the Wii version, and that is why, or one of the reasons why, for the Wii version, at least for the any % category, is a lot slower. Partially because we actually have to finish Faron Twilight and clear Forest Temple. Because I guess, if you didn't know, the any % speedrun of this game, or just like beating the game as quickly as possible, on the GameCube version, you don't actually need to beat Faron Twilight or finish Forest Temple. You still go and get the boomerang, but you don't actually finish Forest Temple. So that's something. But yeah, so as you can see, or as you'll be able to see here, because this has already cleared Faron Twilight and everything, the trigger right here, it's not there. So it would have basically been kind of weird or pointless to show it off on this file. That's why I showed it off with a different one. But anyways, now we are entering Hyrule Field for the first time, and right off the bat, I'm actually going to be setting up for another trick. So right off the bat, once I get over this little hill here, I kind of angle myself up with something. I'll sort of highlight what I angle myself up with. That's basically right to the left of me, right away here, there'll be a mailman trigger, and I kind of want to skip that mailman trigger. So I angle myself there, and now I'm a fair bit to the right of it at this point. Once I sort of reach the wall, I move forward to about, this guy is so annoying. Whoa, camera angle really messed up. I don't want to accidentally hit the trigger, so I'm going to get back a little bit until I kill this guy. But basically, on the wall, after I've like gotten to the wall with that first visual cue, I look at the wall over here and I see there are these two little black lines. I'll kind of highlight them right here. I don't line myself up with the wall, but right below those on the floor, if you can kind of see right here, there's like this little white circle on the ground. I run to the very top, or to in front of that. That's actually a little too far forward. I usually run to here, and it's not like it's precise or anything, and you can like change what you do depending on where you actually get. But right here, from that point, I transform, I lock on, I do a roll, making sure that I'm still like sort of aiming towards the wall so I don't move away from the wall. And then I bring the boomerang out and then throw it, and then when the boomerang goes out of bounds, I do a jump attack, and that gets a long jump attack. So yeah, whenever the boomerang is coming back, it's like, it goes through the wall because it doesn't have collision check or anything. And when it's in the wall, it's like over a bottomless pit, and so then you can do a long jump attack. So with that, as you can see, like I moved just barely sideways, and I hit the mailman trigger. So this is another relatively precise precise like long jump attack past a trigger, but it's not like it's not nearly as precise as the Fair and Escape was. Not at all. And actually, the reason that this works is, I might have mentioned it before when I was doing Sword and Shield skip, but most triggers are oval shaped, basically. And so this one is no exception. It actually, right next to this wall, it actually only goes, if I can even find my old visual cues. Yeah, it only goes to about, so it's from like right about here, this is where the trigger starts, and it ends like right about here or something, or maybe not even that far, like right about here probably, on this end. But if you went to the middle, it's like this huge distance. So because they're oval shaped, over just on the side, it's actually a pretty short distance, and that's actually how it worked with the Fair and Escape as well, is because it's oval shaped and it's like smaller on the sides, you're able to get over the trigger just on the sides. But anyways, with that out of the way, and I know I got the mailman in the end, but you can see that I was able to get past the trigger at least. And so right here, I'm going to be heading into to Elden Twilight. However, first, you might be thinking that the mailman skip is only possible on GameCube version because it requires a long jump attack. Well, that's not entirely true. So I'm going to go over to the Wii version and show how to do it there. Alright, so real quick before I go over the Wii version of the mailman skip, I actually need to talk about the different versions of the Wii version that there are. So, barring different regions, just with the North American region, there are two different versions of the game that there can be. This image right here shows a 1.0 version, and this image shows a 1.2 version. Basically, the only thing that's different is a number here on the back, but there were a few things changed, and one of them affects this mailman skip coming up here. It is actually, this mailman skip is only possible on the 1.0 version because of things that were patched on the 1.2 version. So unfortunately, if you have a 1.2 version like I do, you are not able to do this trick, which kind of sucks, but then I guess you just need to look at the mailman, but whatever. Alright, so first off, I want to give a huge shout out to Habrino. You may have seen him in the comments section, for giving me this footage, because I do not have the 1.0 version of this game, and so I cannot show this off, but fortunately he does, so he was able to provide me with footage. Now, basically right here, this is just how the 100% Wii route would go, is they would go and get this bug first, but then after that, basically the thing that they changed between the 1.0 and 1.2 version of the game was trigger sizes. So the mailman trigger in the 1.0 version, right here, is literally small enough that you can just jump over. Now, for some weird reason, you have to do 2 jump attacks. They're like 2 triggers that you have to jump over, but otherwise, it's basically like it's as simple as that. Now, I don't know any visual cues that you could use, but you could just use this footage right here to try to figure it out for yourself if you have that version. But anyways, back to the GameCube version. Alright, so now that I'm done with that, I'm going to head into Elden Twilight right here and start doing that. And Elden Twilight is actually kind of interesting. It's got some really cool stuff in it. Actually, I know I said that I hated the Twilights, and I still kind of stand by that, but what I hate about them isn't so much the Twilights, it's the bug collecting, which I think is what I think most people share that sentiment. But basically, the Twilights actually have some really cool tricks that you can do in them, and this one is no exception, that's for sure. So right off the bat, actually, this scent right here, you don't actually need any of the scents in the game, except for the pose scent and, I guess the reekfish scent if you're playing casually. But yeah, you don't actually need to get at least that scent, because the game just doesn't bother checking. It's just supposed to be like a guide or whatever, but you don't actually need the guide, so yeah, but anyways. So now I'm going to be killing these shadow beasts, and right after that, there's a trick that I'm going to be doing. And this is decidedly one of the worst tricks in the game. It is a 1-frame trick, and hopefully I can get it. I'm gonna focus right here. There's a visual cue I have for it. Right there. So it might have been a little weird. You might not have understood what just happened. But basically, after you kill the shadow beasts, there is 1 frame where you have to do a jump attack and get into the void before a cutscene starts that forces you to warp over to Faron Woods. And if you do that, unfortunately, actually, in the 100% routes, you aren't supposed to do that. You aren't actually supposed to do the jump attack into the void. Because basically what you're supposed to do at this point is go back to North Faron and then warp the bridge across, but at least in an any percent speedrun, because you haven't done Faron Twilight or beaten Forest Temple, you can't actually warp the bridge. And so because of that, we need a way around that, and we do have a way around that. But getting that 1-frame jump attack just saves having to come back here again, and ultimately that ends up being about a minute of time save for getting that 1-frame jump attack. It's so stupid. I know I mentioned earlier that there are a lot of 1-frame tricks in this game, and they usually save around like 1 to 2 seconds. Yeah, not this one. This one saves like a minute, and it's terrible. But anyways, so that's the first part of an overall trick that we call Gorge Skip. Well, I mean, you don't need to do that to get Gorge Skip, but that's like a really helpful one. It just saves a lot of time. And in this second one is called Rupee Roll, the second glitch that we need to do. And this one is kind of annoying. It used to be so much worse before a better setup was found, but now that, of course, that we have the better setup, it's a little better, but it's still kind of annoying. So basically, to explain this, I guess I need to show off something. Basically, if I get into... I don't know, it's not actually that precise, but basically, if I target on the fence, something like this, if you're just targeting the fence like this, you need to target like the very top pixel, or maybe like the top 2, for it to work, and then you go and you do a jump attack. Oops, wow, it actually got rid of the targets really fast there. I guess I'll target away first, just so that it gives me a little more time. But yeah, if you target like at the very top, so like right about here, and then do a jump attack, what? Come on, stop that game. That was definitely the top pixel. I don't know why it didn't work. Let me try a third time, maybe? Third time's the charm, question mark? There we go. Okay, it was a little hard to see. It only happened for like just a little bit because I wasn't expecting it to work. But you'll notice I got the long jump attack and I landed on the fence for just a little bit. And the top of this fence is a sliding surface. Certain surfaces in this game will be like a sliding surface, where if you get onto it, you'll sort of start sliding and you'll lose control of Link, and you can't really do anything about it. Well, the top of that fence is like that, and so you can't really do anything with doing just the way that I did it right now. There's nothing you can really do with it. However, if you enter a cutscene, or like if you pick up an item, say, while you're in that sliding state, it resets your sliding state to just a standing state. And after that, you have a few frames where you can input an action, and it will do that action before you re-enter the sliding state. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be collecting a rupee on basically the exact same time that I land on top of the fence. And with that, once the rupee text goes away, I can do a roll in those few frames that I have control, and I will hopefully get to the other side of the fence and land on the other side, because there actually is, it's a little hard to see from this angle, but you can kind of see right there, there's like a little bit of land on that side. You can actually stand on that. And so my goal is to actually get onto that. And so it will be a little bit, actually there's one other thing that I want to go over, well, a couple things I guess actually. So basically there is a dig spot that's right on the other side of that tree that has a consistent yellow rupee that spawns. And a yellow rupee will always have a rupee text if it's your first time booting up the game, unless it's on the Wii U version. They fixed that, but fortunately on the GameCube version you can do it however many times you want just by opening up your game. But basically, as soon as I dig that, I'm on a timer because I can't wait too long or else the rupee will disappear. So what I want to do is, after I do that, I'm going to run over to here and transform into human, and then I'm going to angle myself or line myself up right about here. Basically, there's this little black dot on the grounds there. I'll highlight it right there. You kind of want to, or actually, this is brown, whatever. You want to go position yourself to the down left of it a little bit. So right about here should work. It's not super precise, but like right about here should be fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the boomerang, and then wherever the rupee is, I'm going to target the fence behind that rupee so that the boomerang will go and collect that rupee as it's going to the fence. And then without moving the thing vertically, I'm going to move this sight horizontally. And then I want to target right about here, basically right below, if you see where like the hill behind, like in the background, sort of slopes down, right about there. It's not like it's super precise or anything. And then I want to target over it, this one matters even less, right about here should be good. And then I'm going to throw the boomerang and pull my sword out, and then when this second target disappears, I was a little bit late there, but when the first target disappears, I want to do a jump attack, and I should get a long jump attack, and I should land on the fence, and if the rupee is inside the boomerang, I should collect the rupee at the same time. So hopefully, I'm just going to do it one more time just because I'm a little nervous about this trick, because I don't want to fail it too much, but yeah, basically just hopefully when the first target disappears, yeah, so right there, you should collect the rupee there. So I'm going to do the trick now. I'm going to basically be quiet for this whole thing because it's a little bit annoying to get and I kind of want to focus for it. But this dig patch right here is the one that has the yellow rupee in it. So hopefully I can get this. Okay, I guess I did get it. Okay, so as you can see, I'm sort of collecting the rupee while I'm standing on the fence here. And then if I cancel the text, I want to, depending on what your camera angle is, you kind of have to change it a little bit. But at this point, I kind of want to roll somewhere between up left and almost left even. I'm probably going to roll up left. And then as soon as I get the roll, I actually want to quick switch my direction to be down right. That'll basically turn me around so that I won't slide forward off of the fence, and I'll actually go backwards and like basically fall off, and I won't like get this jump off. So hopefully I can get this real quick. Yeah, so right there, as you can see, I did it right, and I landed on this tiny little piece of land right here. And so with that, I can make my way over here. And now it's, at this point, I can't actually, if I tried walking a little further, I'd just slide off, which I really don't want. But basically, this angle isn't really precise, but if you angle yourself kind of like this, and then go to about here, actually, I guess you can go a little further. Right about here. If I go too much further to the right, I'll like grab onto the ledge and then I won't be able to do the trick. But at this point, if you do 2 side hops, you'll get to another tiny piece of land that you can actually stand on and move a little bit. And then you want to reposition a little bit more, and then do 2 more side hops, and you'll land over here onto this side. And then you'll notice how like the land here comes to a little point. You kind of line yourself up with the front there, and then do a slash, you'll get pushed back a little bit closer towards the ledge. And then if you look forward, if you'll see down here, there's like this little, this fence comes down to a little point right here. Like right here is where it's sort of like a bottom point. If you do a long jump attack across this void while the boomerang is over that point, or actually a little bit more to the right of it, or to the left of it, you should actually like sort of clip through the fence and like over onto the other side of the gorge. And so a good way to do that is if you see this like little dark spot on the wall, if you line up the boomerang with the edge of the, or like the sight, sort of like the vertical part of the sight with the edge of that, throw the boomerang, pull the sword out, wait for it to start coming back, and then do a jump attack across, you'll clear the fence. And with that, we have skipped the void, and you'll notice like the fence isn't there, and so, or the bridge isn't there, and so we have successfully completely skipped the void, which is pretty nice. And so now just right here, I'm showing that the trigger is still there, actually, the one that you can force warp yourself to Farron with. And this is actually required, like, I wasn't actually supposed to do this trick, I just wanted to show it off as a little bit of an extra thing. But yeah, so yeah, again, with 100% route, you actually don't need to do any of the stuff that I just did for the last, like, 10 minutes. So yeah, we can just warp to Farron here. And then we can go and warp the actual bridge, because this is 100%, I actually need to warp the bridge, because we're going to be needing to go across it a few times, and it's just not worth it to skip it, and whatnot. But I still wanted to show it off, because it is actually a very cool trick. I do really enjoy doing Rupee Roll. It's just really, it's pretty difficult. It took me a long time to get for the first time, and actually, the old method, I mentioned that, like, I think I mentioned that it used to be bad, but there's like a better setup. I did the better setup for it, but it used to be that you were on like this timer where you had to get like that 1 or 2 pixels at the very top of the fence. You needed to like target that on the rupee timer, and it was super terrible. But it's a lot easier now, but it's still one of the harder tricks in the run. Now right here, I actually want to try and get something, another 1-frame trick. Right there, okay, I was kind of surprised I got it. Sorry for the mashing noise there, but I got a 1-frame jump attack out of a text trigger. If I walk back here, you'll notice there's a text trigger here. So yeah, I got a 1-frame jump attack out of that text trigger. So yeah, as I mentioned, there are a ton of 1-frame tricks in this game. And it's kind of annoying, but yeah, that's just how it is. And now right here, I need to be extremely careful. So, right on the other side of this fence, there is actually, no wait. I don't need to be careful yet, I'm thinking any percent. Sorry. Later on when I come through here though, there will be, right where I'm standing right about now, there will be a loading zone that takes me to the King Bublin 1 fight. And if I hit that, that actually loses a ton of time now, and so you do not want to hit that. But fortunately, right here, it's not actually here right now. If you were doing an any percent speedrun, because you do the back in time glitch right at the start of the game, I think I mentioned that doing the back in time glitch like has some special properties or whatever to the file. If I didn't, it does, the file that you save. And one of them is that it sets the plot of the game to a certain point, and that point is right when you're supposed to go back and get iron boots. And in the any percent speedrun, you would go and get the iron boots right away. So then after you do that, after you get the iron boots, it like puts the trigger right here, the Bublin trigger. And normally you're supposed to like ride Epona and hop over the fence, and then you hit the trigger anyways. But if you're in Twilight, the trigger can still be there. And so you can actually kind of like inch your way around the edge here, and you'll actually like miss the trigger. You have to like really hug this wall though, otherwise you'll hit the trigger. And again, of course, the trigger's not there right now, but you'll see, actually, that trigger will cause problems for me later on in this route, and there is a way around it, but it's a little bit annoying. But yeah, basically, it's really annoying. Hitting the Bublin 1 trigger is just extremely stupid, and it's fortunate that we don't have to worry about it in the 100% speedrun right here, but again, in the any percent speedrun, you do have to worry about that, because it will basically ruin your run. It loses like a minute or something if you hit the Bublin trigger. It is possible to finish the run with hitting it, but it's just really stupid. But anyways, so now that I've done that, I've killed these guys, the portal is here. I know I said that I was going to finish Elden Twilight, but I didn't expect explaining everything was going to take this long, so I'm actually going to end the episode here. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, click that like button. If you didn't, fine, click the dislike button. Follow me on the links in the description, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!